Over the last 50 years, a huge body of research has found a correlation between teacher expectations and student performance. That is, over and over again, we've seen that when teachers believe a student will perform well, that student is far more likely to live up to the task. Your first thought might be, well, sure, teachers are perceptive, they judge student work, they know who's naturally more capable, and the capable ones rise up to the occasion. But we know for a fact that this isn't always the case. Most famous foray into the subject was the study Pygmalion in the Classroom. In 1968, researchers Jacobson and Rosenthal told teachers that the test scores of certain children indicated they were late bloomers who were likely to surge forward academically. By the end of the year, it turned out that these potential high achievers had in fact performed higher than their peers, except of course there was no test and the children had been picked completely at random. The teachers assumed they would succeed, and so it became a self-fulfilling prophecy. Now, this was 50 years ago, but despite how well established the correlation is, the problem hasn't gone away. The solution seems like it should be simple. Just inform students that you expect them to succeed and sit back and watch the gains roll in, but we're finding that that isn't the case. All teachers should tell students they expect them to succeed, of course, and we hope that no teachers, or at least very few of them, are going to come out and tell a student they have no faith in them and they expect them to do poorly. But even when well-meaning teachers try to hide their biases, students wind up underperforming. So the question now is, what exactly is giving away teachers' true biases? As teachers, how do we communicate to students that we expect them to succeed or fail? And if we do catch ourselves doubting a student's abilities, how do we still help them achieve mastery? What we've found is that without even realizing it, teachers dedicate the resources of time, energy, and attention to high-performing students far more than the low-performing. For instance, when dealing with high performers, teachers will make more eye contact and broadcast positive body language, call on them more often to speak in class, ask harder questions, wait significantly longer for an answer before asking or after asking a question, and if a grade is borderline, high-performing students get the benefit of the doubt. When high-performing students give a correct answer in class, the teacher is more likely to offer in-depth praise and explain what they did well. If they get the wrong answer, teachers take the time to guide them to the correct one. So basically, they communicate to students that they have the ability to get it right with a little coaching. And even beyond that, they communicate to these students that they are worth putting in the effort. Meanwhile, when low-performing students are correct, they get far less positive feedback, and when they're incorrect, they receive negative comments, and the teacher tends to move on with the lesson. Research shows that overall, low-performing students have far more frequent negative interactions with the teacher. Of course, when we talk about academic expectations, what we're also talking about are racial, gender, and class stereotypes. Students, especially older ones, are very aware of how they are perceived, and they know all the stereotypes that apply to them. So naturally, when teachers allow these stereotypes to shape the way they judge student ability, it only reinforces the negative opinions students have about themselves. It becomes internalized. Many female students and those from minority backgrounds succumb to stereotype threat, which is where they are so nervous about living down to society's expectations that the anxiety causes them to actually perform below their ability level. This is true for girls in math and science classes and for children of color across the board. In America, Black children are especially underrepresented in gifted and advanced classes. In many cases, this is because teachers tend to see what they expect to see, so they are quicker to identify gifted, white, affluent children. But even in schools that allow students to choose their own tracks, general and advanced classes wind up segregated along racial lines. Researchers looked at one of these schools and sent out surveys asking students why they had chosen the track that they did. What they found was that Black students who responded said they didn't feel capable of handling the advanced work, while white students considered themselves more capable, but also explained that their parents or guidance counselors pushed them to take the advanced courses because they were expected to go on to college. This probably sounds discouraging, but on the bright side, there are steps teachers can take toward lessening these effects in their classrooms. The first is simply becoming aware of the problem. It's hard to fix an issue that you don't notice, so start keeping track of who you call on, how you respond, and what kind of language you use. I mentioned before the teacher feedback to low-performing students was scarce and mostly negative, but there's one study by Thomas Guskey that looked into the effects of feedback on student performance and teacher perception of ability. Each teacher taught 2 different classes of the same aptitude level, and prior to assessment, grouped students based on expected success. They taught both classes the same unit using almost the exact same strategies. The only difference was that the test class would include extra teacher feedback and activities designed to correct the errors made on formative assessments. So basically, this study tested what would happen if teachers applied the same techniques they use on high-performing students to low-performing students. Not only did this boost scores, it also changed the way teachers perceived their students' aptitude. Guskey said, under these conditions, teachers are likely to view students according to more alterable characteristics, which they as teachers might be able to influence. The teacher stopped thinking in terms of natural ability and began assessing each student according to their specific learning needs. So the teachers felt more empowered and the students felt more valued by the teacher. What this shows us is exactly how critical feedback really is. Students need to know how to fix their errors, but this needs to be balanced with praise and positive reinforcement. This is difficult when teachers are expected to provide excellent, individualized instruction to upwards of 100 kids, maybe not 1,000. But if teachers are willing to put forth that effort, research shows it goes a very long way in helping students overcome their labels. Thanks for listening.